Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Genesis chapter 23, verse 1 through chapter 24, verse 51. Sarah lived 127 years. Then she died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Then Abraham got up from mourning his dead wife and said to the sons of Heth, I am a temporary settler among you. Grant me ownership of a burial site among you, so that I may bury my dead. The sons of Heth answered Abraham, Listen, sir, you are a mighty prince among us. You may bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb to prevent you from burying your dead. Abraham got up and bowed down to the local people, the sons of Heth. Then he said to them, If you agree that I may bury my dead, then hear me out. Ask Ephron the son of Zohar if he will sell me the cave of Machpelah that belongs to him. It is at the end of his field. Let him sell it to me publicly for the full price, so that I may own it as a burial site. Now Ephron was sitting among the sons of Heth. Ephron the Hethite replied to Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Heth, before all who entered the gate of his city, No, my lord, hear me out. I sell you both the field and the cave that is in it. In the presence of my people I sell it to you. Bury your dead. Abraham bowed before the local people, and said to Ephron in their hearing, Hear me, if you will. I pay to you the price of the field. Take it from me, so that I may bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, Here, my lord, the land is worth 400 pieces of silver, but what is that between me and you? So bury your dead. So Abraham agreed to Ephron's price, and weighed out for him the price that Ephron had quoted in the hearing of the sons of Heth, 400 pieces of silver, according to the standard measurement at the time. So Abraham secured Ephron's field in Machpelah, next to Mamre, including the field, the cave that was in it, and all the trees that were in the field and all around its border, as his property in the presence of the sons of Heth before all who entered the gates of Ephron's city. After this, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave, in the field of Machpelah next to Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So Abraham secured the field and the cave that was in it as a burial site from the sons of Heth. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed him in everything. Abraham said to his servant, the senior one in his household, who was in charge of everything he had, Put your hand under my thigh, so that I may make you solemnly promise by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth. You must not acquire a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I am living. You must go instead to my country and to my relatives to find a wife for my son Isaac. The servant asked him, What if the woman is not willing to come back with me to this land? Must I then take your son back to the land from which you came? Be careful to never take my son back there. Abraham told him, The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and the land of my relatives, promised me with a solemn oath, To your descendants I will give this land. He will send his angel before you, so that you may find a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to come back with you, you will be free from this oath of mine, but you must not take my son back there. So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham, and gave his solemn promise he would carry out his wishes. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels, and departed with all kinds of gifts from his master at his disposal. He journeyed to the region of Aram Naharaim and the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down by the well outside the city. It was evening, the time when the women would go out to draw water. He prayed, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, guide me today. Be faithful to my master Abraham. Here I am, standing by the spring, and the daughters of the people who live in the town are coming out to draw water. I will say to you, young woman, please lower your jar so I may drink. May the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac reply, Drink, and I'll give your camels water too. In this way I will know that you have been faithful to my master. Before he had finished praying, there came Rebekah with her water jug on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah. Milcah was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Now the young woman was very beautiful. She was a virgin. No man had ever had sexual relations with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jug, and came back up. Abraham's servant ran to meet her and said, Please, give me a sip of water from your jug. Drink, my lord, she replied, and quickly lowering her jug to her hands, she gave him a drink. When she had done so, she said, I'll draw water for your camels, too, until they have drunk as much as they want." She quickly emptied her jug into the watering trough and ran back to the well to draw more water until she had drawn enough for all his camels. Silently, the man watched her with interest to determine if the Lord had made his journey successful or not. After the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a beka and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels, and gave them to her. "Whose daughter are you?" he asked. "Tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She said to him, "I'm the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom Milcah bore to Nahor. We have plenty of straw and feed," she added, "and room for you to spend the night." The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord, saying, "Praised be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his faithful love for my master. The Lord has led me to the house of my master's relatives." The young woman ran and told her mother's household all about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban. Laban rushed out to meet the man at the spring. When he saw the bracelets on his sister's wrists and the nose ring, and heard his sister Rebekah saying, "This is what the man said to me," he went out to meet the man. There he was, standing by the camels near the spring. Laban said to him, "Come, you who are blessed by the Lord. Why are you standing out here when I have prepared the house and a place for the camels?" So Abraham's servant went to the house and unloaded the camels. Straw and feed were given to the camels, and water was provided so that he and the men who were with him could wash their feet. When food was served, he said, "I will not eat until I have said what I want to say." "Tell us," Laban said. "I am the servant of Abraham," he said. "Then the Lord has richly blessed my master, and he has become very wealthy. The Lord has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife, Sarah, bore a son to him when she was old, and my master has given him everything he owns. My master made me swear an oath. He said, 'You must not acquire a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I am living, but you must go to the family of my father and to my relatives to find a wife for my son.' But I said to my master, 'What if the woman does not want to go with me?' He answered, 'The Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you. He will make your journey a success, and you will find a wife for my son from among my relatives, from my father's family. You will be free from your oath if you go to my relatives and they will not give her to you. Then you will be free from your oath.' When I came to the spring today, I prayed, 'O Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you have decided to make my journey successful, may events unfold as follows. Here I am, standing by the spring. When the young woman goes out to draw water, I'll say, "Give me a little water to drink from your jug." Then she will reply to me, "Drink, and I'll draw water for your camels too." May that woman be the one whom the Lord has chosen for my master's son." Before I finished praying in my heart, along came Rebekah with her water jug on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water. So I said to her, "Please give me a drink." She quickly lowered her jug from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and I'll give your camels water too." So I drank, and she also gave the camels water. Then I asked her, "Whose daughter are you?" She replied, "The daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to Nahor." I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. Then I bowed down and worshipped the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right path to find the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now if you will show faithful love to my master, tell me, but if not, tell me as well, so that I may go on my way." Then Laban and Bethuel replied, "This is the Lord's doing. Our wishes are of no concern." It's interesting. In the first section that we read concerning the death and burial of Sarah, you have this exchange that happens between Abraham and the sons of Heth, which it's a lot more straightforward, maybe a little bit ceremonious in the NET. But in other translations I've read, they are saying a lot of, "Sure, you can bury your dead wherever you wish. We'll give it to you for free," type thing. But Abraham essentially has to wrestle the price out of them And it seems pretty high, 400 pieces of silver there, but for a cave. Yeah, but it seems like the NET takes more liberties with the translation and trying to make it read as a business transaction. So, yeah, it seems like primarily the sons of Heth are using generosity to conceal, like, not wanting to do what Abraham's suggesting. But from Guzik here, the way of negotiating the price was typical of ancient and modern practices in that culture. I give you the field and the cave. As a gesture of kindness, the selling party may offer to give the property in question to the buyer until the buyer insists on paying a price. Ephron the Hittite followed the cultural customs of bargaining. First, the seller offered to give the item, confident that the buyer would refuse the ceremonial offer. When the buyer refused to receive it as a gift, the seller suggested a price, which he claimed was modest but was really very high. This was understood to be the starting point, and from there the bargaining began. Abraham showed how a follower of God should conduct business with the world, courteously, fairly, prudently, and not giving a counter-offer to the suggested price of 400 shekels of silver. Abraham was remarkably generous in his dealings with Ephron. They who, under the sanction of religion, trample underfoot the decent forms of civil respect, supposing that because they are religious they have a right to be rude, totally mistake the spirit of Christianity. Hmm. Let's see here. Next chapter. So, Abraham then sends out his chief servant to look for a wife for his son Isaac. And he sends him out to his relatives. Yeah. And it's repeated often enough in here. It's like repeated 3 times. But his servant finds Rebekah and prays a prayer to God that if this is the woman that, well, before he even finds her, whoever the Lord has in mind for Isaac, she should offer to water the camels as well. And Rebekah does so. So. It's also interesting to me that the chief servant worships the Lord here. That is, that Abraham had an effect on his household, in that even Abraham's servants ended up believing in the God that Abraham worshipped, based on Abraham, I would say. Abraham said to him, apparently Abraham anticipated that he might die while his servant was gone, so the instructions were made perfectly clear. Beware that you do not take my son back there. Isaac, the son of promise, never once left the promised land. His wife was to come to him, as Isaac stayed in the land of Canaan. This principle was so important that if the woman would not come with the servant, it was better for Isaac to not have a wife. The servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed. Abraham's servant, likely Eliezer, led a large and impressive caravan. They carried such substantial riches that it could be said with poetic exaggeration, all his master's goods were in his hand. The journey was long. The straight-line distance from Canaan to Ur of the Chaldeans was some 500 miles, but the most common route was about 900 miles. Yeah, probably took a long time there. As Abraham's servant arrived at his master's ancestral city, he first had a practical concern, to water his camels. He then had a spiritual concern, asking for God's guidance through providential circumstances. This is sometimes a bad way to discern God's will. Generally speaking, circumstances alone can be a dangerous way to discern God's will. We have a way of ignoring circumstances that speak against our desired outcome, or we attribute those circumstances to the devil, while focusing on the circumstances that speak for our desired outcome. Yeah. But in this case, Eliezer established what he would look for before anything happened. He wasn't making up the standard as the process unfolded. Let her be the one. In praying this prayer, there was a sense in which Eliezer set the odds against finding someone. It would take a remarkable woman to volunteer for this tedious task. Considering that a camel may drink up to 20 gallons, watering 10 camels means at least an hour of hard work. Yeah. And depending on how large the jug was, that would be a lot of trips. The servant ran to meet her. The servant did not think it was unspiritual to introduce himself to Rebekah, yet he certainly did not do anything to suggest that she should provide water for the camels. Prayer is no substitute for action. And drew for all his camels. As Rebekah began the hard work of watering all the camels, the servant did not stop her. He wanted a woman who would not only say that she would water the camels, but she would actually do the hard work. He was amazed as he watched her do this. Perhaps Eliezer knew that for some it is much easier to talk like a servant than to actually serve. He wanted to see if she had a servant's heart, not only a servant's talk. When the camels had finished drinking, he produced a golden nose ring, 2 bracelets for her wrists, weighing 10 shekels of gold. After Rebekah fulfilled the sign Abraham's servant prayed for, he immediately revealed precious gifts for her. This was a sign of his generosity and the wealth of the master he represented. Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. The father of Rebekah was Bethuel, who was still alive. Yet it seems that Laban took the lead in representing the family. Perhaps Laban was already known for his ability to make a deal to his advantage. Laban is later the one who Jacob has gets his 2 wives from. And Laban deals shrewdly with Jacob and has him work 7 years for the one wife who he didn't like, and then 7 years for another wife whom he did like. And I think another, probably, well, I'm not sure beyond that, but at least a few years beyond that. Yeah, so Laban was very shrewd in his dealings. If you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. Abraham's servant understood that they would say yes or no to his master, not to him. He truly represented his master, not himself. Eliezer is a wonderful example of the master's faithful messenger. He told them that his master was great. He told them his master's son was the heir. He wanted one who would leave her old home and live with the master's son. He pressed for a reply. From Spurgeon here. Well, says one, I'm glad you have spoken to us. I will think it over. No, friends, I do not mean that. I do not want you to think it over. You have had enough of thinking. I pray that God's Spirit may lead you to an immediate decision. Yeah. Yeah, and I think we can often use I'll think it over as an excuse to put off something when we have all of the facts in front of us and we need to make a decision. So, and the quick decision making of both the Abraham's servant Eliezer and Rachel, or wait, was it Rachel? Sarah, or no, goodness, my brain is not working this morning. Rebecca. I'll get there eventually. The quick decision making on Rebecca's part was, I think, representative of the decision making that we need when it comes to serving God. It's similar to what was put forward in Isaiah, where Isaiah says, "Here I am, send me," type thing. It doesn't carry the hesitation of faithlessness. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Bye.